there are days when our hearts suddenly feel heavy. Not because of a major event, nor necessarily because someone hurt us, but simply a subtle, persistent emptiness, like a thin fog clouding the soul. We don't understand why we feel so weary, but if we pause for a moment, we might realize that perhaps it's precisely the things we're holding on to in our hearts that cause our minds to lose their peaceful dwelling. If you're quietly facing long, sleepless nights, if idle thoughts keep swirling in your mind, then this video is for you. Because on the journey to find true peace, the Buddha taught that for the mind to be at peace, one must first learn to let go of unnecessary things. Like a stream, it is only clear when its flow is unobstructed. Our minds, too, are only light when no longer burdened by old things. Yet, we often cling tightly. We cling to resentment, expectations, and past events. Sometimes, just a thoughtless remark someone uttered makes us hold on to sadness for many years. Sometimes, just a specific failure prevents us from ever giving ourselves a chance to start over. The Buddha once taught that to escape suffering is not to seek more, but to know how to let go of what is no longer needed. These words are simple yet profound, because the older we get, the more we realize that the world within us contains too many things. Worrying about what others think, regretting the past, fearing what hasn't happened yet. Each of these thoughts is a closed door that prevents light from entering. So, dear friend, try once to quietly look into your own mind. Is there anything you're holding on to too tightly? Is there anything you no longer need, but still keep there, like a wound that refuses to heal? True peace doesn't lie in everything outside conforming to your wishes. It lies in your ability to accept and release. When you learn to let go, you'll find your mind like the sky after rain, washed clean of dust, restoring its inherent clarity. And right now, you can begin. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and tell yourself, I allow myself to let go. I allow myself to step away from what I no longer need. Because you deserve peace. Because the light is always within you. You just need to gently remove the layers of obscuring clouds. If your heart is troubled, believe that one day that lake surface will be calm. Just don't rush. Just turn inward and walk slowly. Peace is not really far away. There are evenings when the sun quietly casts its shadow over the hill, the wind caresses the leaves, and the space becomes strangely silent, and we suddenly yearn for something. That is called peace. But have you ever asked yourself what true peace really is? Is it when there is no longer sorrow, no worries, no one to hurt you anymore? Or is peace a distant place, free from the noise of the city, free from the worries of daily life? Once, someone asked the Buddha, "Venerable One, how can I live peacefully in this tumultuous world?" He smiled, his eyes bright, like the gentle moonlight, and replied, "It's not about the absence of storms, but about your mind remaining stable and unwavering amidst the storms. That is true peace." That answer sounds simple, but it contains a profound awakening. Peace is not about escaping life. Peace is not about closing your doors to stop the world outside from being noisy, but about opening the doors of your heart to embrace everything with a steady heart and a gentle soul. It's when the wind and rain rage outside, but we still have a warm shelter within. It's when others are angry, but we no longer feel the need to argue or react. In life, we often mistakenly believe that peace comes from external things. Some people think that only when they are wealthy, successful in their careers, and no longer have to worry about food and clothing, can they achieve peace. Others think that only by going far away to remote mountains, turning off their phones, and leaving the world behind, can they live a day completely free from worries. But in reality, how many people, even in high mountains and vast oceans, still carry anxiety in their hearts? How many people, even sitting in silence, have minds swirling like fierce waves? The Buddha taught that it is not circumstances that create peace, but the way our minds perceive those circumstances. A person can live in a noisy city, but if their mind no longer chases fame, no longer competes to win or lose, no longer clings to gossip, then that person can still live very serenely. Conversely, a person living in nature, but whose mind is full of resentment, competitiveness, and delusions, will find that place to be nothing but their own prison. True peace is not about the absence of suffering, but about knowing that suffering is also a part of life. We don't run from it. We don't react negatively, but we learn to observe it, understand it, and then let it pass. Like rain that comes and goes, like a gentle breeze, we neither cling to it nor push it away. Only then can we weather life's storms without losing ourselves. Have you ever wondered why some people, despite having everything, still feel insecure? It's because for them, peace is a condition. They think, only when that person changes will I feel comfortable, or only when I have more money will I feel safe. But the Buddha taught that these conditions are only temporary. If your mind relies on anything external for peace, you will never achieve true peace. Because the world is constantly changing. People are constantly changing. Only your inner self, when nurtured by understanding and mindfulness, is the safest refuge. Try once to sit still, breathe deeply, and look within yourself. You will see how many things you are carrying. Old sorrows, unfinished dreams, words others have said that you cling to and refuse to let go, and even the expectations you place on yourself, then blame yourself when you can't achieve them. All these things have entangled our minds, weighing down our hearts. And then you will realize that sometimes, to achieve peace, it's not about adding something, but about daring to let go of unnecessary things. It's about gently setting down burdens that no longer serve your journey. It's about forgiving others so your heart can feel lighter. It's about no longer trying to control everything, but learning to embrace things with flexibility and compassion. One afternoon, a disciple sat by the river, his face pensive. The Buddha approached and asked, "What are you thinking about?" The disciple replied, "I wish to live a peaceful life like that water." The Buddha looked at the river, smiled, and said, "The water never stops flowing, yet the surface remains calm. Peace is when you learn to flow with life without letting yourself be swept away." So, if today you feel exhausted from trying too hard, if your heart is troubled by things you cannot control, stop for a moment. Don't rush forward. Turn inward. Ask yourself what is truly essential for the peace in your soul. What can you put down today? Because sometimes just a gentle release in the mind can open up a whole sky of tranquility. Peace is not in front of you, nor behind you. It lies in the moment you sit down, take a deep breath, and smile to yourself. And then, in that very stillness, you will hear a faint whisper echoing from the depths of your heart. You are returning to yourself. Have you ever felt like you're walking through a wide field, seemingly free, yet your heart is heavy? Each step seems to carry a world of unspoken thoughts. No one sees what you are carrying, but you know it so well. It could be an uncooled anger, a word swallowed back into your heart, a memory that once made you cry, but you still had to smile for others to see that you were okay. Someone once said that everyone in life carries an invisible sandbag on their shoulders. From the outside, they may seem to walk lightly, but in their hearts, each step drags along unnamed burdens. Some people strain themselves carrying enormous expectations from their families. Others carry unspoken resentments. Some are held back by past mistakes, constantly blaming themselves for something that cannot be changed. One afternoon, as the setting sun cast long shadows through the trees, Grandpa led his young grandson to the riverbank behind their house. They carried a bag of sand and a basket. Grandpa told his grandson to take handfuls of sand and put them in the basket. Each handful represented something the boy had been sad about, angry about, or blamed others for. The boy was hesitant, but then he followed. The first handful was when a friend didn't play with him. The second was when his father unjustly scolded him. The third was when no one believed what he said. The basket quickly filled up. And when Grandpa told him to walk around the garden carrying the basket, the boy realized the basket was now heavier. He asked, "Grandpa, are you tired?" The boy replied, "Very tired, Grandpa." Grandpa continued, "So, if you add things like that to your basket every day, do you think you'll still be able to walk?" The boy was silent. That question seemed simple, but in the boy's eyes, at that moment, we could see a glimmer of understanding. Grandpa smiled, pointing towards the river. "This river flows every day, rain or shine. It doesn't hold on to garbage, dry leaves, or mud. It always washes them away to stay clear." The human heart also needs to learn from that river. There are things you don't need to hold on to, so let them go. From that simple story, we realize that peace is not when we have everything as we wish, but when we know how to put down unnecessary things. The Buddha once taught that suffering is not because of having too little, but because of wanting too much. Sometimes we suffer not because of external circumstances, but because of our minds. We stubbornly cling to the past. There is an image often mentioned in meditation, a traveler carrying a very large suitcase. He doesn't know what's inside, only that he cannot put it down. Each time he feels more sadness, he puts it in. Each time someone disappoints him, he stuffs it in. Gradually, the suitcase becomes heavy. He still walks, but each step is weary. Even if flowers bloom by the roadside and birds sing, he no longer has the presence of mind to look at them. That suitcase is our mind, and what we keep inside is often unnecessary for the journey ahead. But due to habit, fear, or not having learned how to let go, we cling to it. The more we cling, the more tired we become. The more tired we are, the less energy we have to live the present moment fully. The Buddha's teachings never advised us to reject life or run from suffering. He gently pointed out that suffering is a natural part of human life, and clinging to it in our minds only increases our pain. Letting go doesn't mean we don't care, but that we learn not to let those things bind us. Try sitting down on a cool afternoon when the sun has just dipped below the tree canopy. You might hear the wind rustling through the leaves, the birds chirping as they call each other to their nests. In that moment, if your mind is still, you will find those sounds speaking for your heart. You don't need to carry everything. You don't need to hold on to past betrayals, missed dreams, or resentments no one understands. Let your heart be like a still lake. Any stone will create ripples. But if no one throws stones anymore, the water will become calm again, as before. A practitioner once said, "I have lived half my life just to learn to put things down, to put down fear, to put down competition, to put down unfulfilled expectations. And then I began to truly learn how to live." We don't need to wait until life wears us down, until our hearts are exhausted, to learn how to let go. We can start right now by looking deeply into our hearts and asking, what am I carrying that causes me pain? Is this still necessary for the journey ahead? Each morning when you wake up, tell yourself, today, I will practice letting go of one thing I no longer need. It could be an old complaint, an unreasonable expectation, or a comparison that makes you feel inferior. Gradually, you will feel your heart lighten. No one can bring us peace if we don't learn to let our hearts be light. Peace does not come from the outside. It is a state of the inner self when we are no longer dragged by the past or worried about the future. When you understand that, you will no longer want to carry too much. You will cherish every present moment. You will know that just by breathing steadily, living slowly, loving sincerely, and putting down unnecessary things, you are already living a peaceful life. Perhaps today you still can't let go of everything. Perhaps there are still sleepless nights, moments when old memories resurface. But that's okay, as long as you recognize what you are carrying. That is already the beginning of awakening. Imagine each sorrow as a dry leaf. The wind will blow and the leaf will fly. Don't try to hold on to dry leaves when spring is coming. Don't be afraid to leave empty spaces, because those very spaces will be where light can enter. In the gentle light of an afternoon meditation, you can close your eyes and visualize each burden being released. You will find your heart expanding like the sea after a rain, calm, light, and serene. Peace is not when we have everything, but when we know what to hold on to and what to put down. Now, sit up straight, relax your shoulders, take a deep breath in and a gentle breath out. In that breath, let go of one thing you know you have carried for too long. Just one thing is enough to feel a little lighter. You don't need to be perfect right away. Just move towards the light, step by step, with a lighter soul than yesterday, and you will see that peace has never been far away. It's always there, waiting for us to put down unnecessary things so that our hearts can make room for what is truly precious. Have you ever felt that amidst the hustle and bustle of life, your heart is like a cup already full? with no room left to welcome new joys because it's too crowded with thoughts, worries, expectations, and accumulated hurts? Someone asked, "If I let go, does that mean I'm giving up everything?" That question seems simple, but it touches upon a deep misconception in many people's minds, because in our subconscious, we often associate letting go with losing, being weak, running away, or even abandoning ourselves. But if we truly understand, we will see that letting go doesn't mean abandoning the value of life, but rather giving ourselves the necessary space to start anew with a fresh perspective. One early morning, in a foggy mountain region, a young man sought out a Zen master to study the path. The young man carried a large bag full of books, scriptures, and thick notebooks filled with thoughts accumulated from previous experiences. When the young man bowed, asking for guidance, the Zen master just smiled and poured tea for his guest. The teacup was small, but the Zen master kept pouring until the tea overflowed, wetting the table. The young man was startled and said, "Master, you're spilling the tea." The Zen master gently replied, "That's right, a full cup cannot hold any more. Your mind is the same. If you don't let go of what has filled your mind, how can there be room to receive something new and profound?" This short story is a gentle yet profound message. Life is inherently impermanent. Every day, every hour can change. What was once important yesterday may have become a burden today. But many people, for fear of loss, for fear of having nothing left, cling tightly to everything, even things that are no longer suitable. They don't know that this very clinging is what causes their suffering. The Buddha once taught that the root of suffering is attachment, the clinging, the unwillingness to let go. But he also didn't tell us to let go of everything in an extreme way. Letting go here doesn't mean abandoning responsibility, nor escaping life, nor certainly abandoning faith, ideals, or love. Rather, it is letting go of the grasping mind, the mind that always wants things to happen exactly as it wishes. It is letting go of unrealistic expectations, letting go of past worries, letting go of old ways of thinking that no longer serve our growth. In fact, letting go is a proactive and wise action. It is not weak, as many people mistakenly believe. A person who chooses to let go is someone who has clearly seen what is still suitable and what is not. They dare to face their emotions, dare to face the truth that not everything held onto is good. And sometimes, letting go is the deepest love we can show ourselves. Letting go to avoid further harm. Letting go to stop going down the wrong path. Letting go so the mind can be open and more serene. It's like cleaning an old room. We don't throw away old items because we hate them, but because we want the room to be neat, bright, and more breathable. Our minds are the same. Each time we dare to look within, dare to identify the things clinging to our minds, and choose to let go. That is when we are cleaning. Cleaning to find refuge. Cleaning to see clearly what needs to be kept and what should be released. We lose nothing. On the contrary, we are creating conditions for our minds to return to their lightest, simplest state, where there is no longer pressure, no longer resentment, no longer controlled by the past or future. Some people hold on to an unnamed sorrow forever. Perhaps it's an unfinished love affair, a deceased loved one, a hidden wound in the heart. They cannot let go because they think that letting go means denying the value of that person or denying the feelings they once had. But letting go doesn't mean forgetting. Letting go doesn't mean being indifferent. Instead, letting go is about preserving the beautiful memories, not allowing them to torment us daily. It's about being grateful for what once was, but no longer letting the past imprison the present. As we live amidst this life, there will certainly be things that don't go as we wish. Perhaps a dream job didn't materialize, a relationship we once trusted fractured, or an expectation we had for ourselves didn't yield the desired outcome. All these things cause us suffering if we don't know how to let go. Letting go is not giving up, but transforming our perspective. Instead of agonizing, we learn to breathe slowly, observe, accept, and smile at the imperfections themselves. A person who knows how to let go is someone who can sit amidst a storm with a peaceful heart. They don't need the world to conform to their will. They don't need everything to be perfect. They just need a calm mind, wide enough to embrace both joy and sorrow, light enough to walk without heavy burdens. And do you know that true peace does not come from how much you control, but from how much you are willing to let go? The fewer things you try to hold on to, the freer your heart. The fewer things you cling to, the lighter your heart. Try to imagine you're standing in a field of flowers, with the wind gently blowing, the sky vast and high, and the sun pouring golden light onto your shoulders. You don't need to do anything. Just breathe deeply and realize that life doesn't need that much to feel complete. If today you feel weary, try asking yourself, what am I trying to hold on to? Do I truly need everything I'm clinging to? And if you're brave enough to let go just a little, you'll realize that peace has always been there. It's not far, not difficult. You just need to make room for it. Every day that passes is a new opportunity to practice letting go. No need to rush, no need to force it. Just a little recognition, a little understanding, a little love for yourself. Then, little by little, the knots will unravel, the mind will expand, and the light of serenity will shine through, like a gentle dawn after a long, restless night. When the mind is at peace, we will find everything becoming simpler. We don't need to chase too many things outside. We just need to return within, return to our breath, return to awareness. Just a light heart, a compassionate gaze, an unconditional smile. That's enough to realize how worthwhile this life is. Believe that you deserve peace. And the journey to that peace begins the moment you dare to let go of unnecessary things. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to choose a lighter life, a deeper life, a life that doesn't need too many things to be happy. Because true happiness has never been found in external things. It always begins from within. And within you, there is always a peaceful sky waiting to be discovered. Have you ever held in your heart an indifferent glance, a thoughtless remark, for many years? The other person might have forgotten what they said, but we still remember it vividly. That remark remains like a thorn embedded in our heart, painful, with just a slight touch. Time passes, circumstances change, but that feeling still lies dormant, like a smoldering fire, needing only a gentle breeze to flare up and burn away all the peace we have painstakingly cultivated. We call that attachment, a seemingly small emotion, yet it can steer the entire course of a person's life off track. There are wounds not caused by knives, but left by human hearts. There are scars no one sees, but each time memory touches them, they hurt like the first day. An old man once recounted that for over 30 years, he didn't speak to his younger brother due to a very small misunderstanding when they were young. Only when his brother passed away did he embrace the photo and cry until his tears ran dry, only managing to say one sentence, "If only I had been less stubborn back then." We often think that pain is brought to us by others, but in reality, pain is what we hold on to. A thoughtless word, if carried away by the wind, would just be a fleeting matter. But if we hold it in our hearts, like a burning coal, clinging to it without letting go, the more we hold it, the more our hands burn. The Buddha once taught that the wise do not harbor hatred, for hatred is a two-edged sword. One blade stabs another, and the other turns back to stab oneself. When we nurture attachment, we are hurting our own souls. Not because of anyone else, but because we ourselves do not want to let go. Attachment is not just about longing, anger, or resentment. It is also about the things we stubbornly cling to. Like a beautiful dream that has passed, like a fractured relationship, like an unfulfilled expectation. We cling to things that are no longer there, blaming life for being unfair, blaming people for being heartless, without realizing that the one who causes us the most suffering is ourselves. In the deep forest, people once saw a monkey with its hand trapped in a jar. It only needed to release the handful of fruit in its hand to pull its hand out. But because it clung too tightly to the food, it struggled desperately, panicked, and then became exhausted. Our lives are the same. No one binds us but our own attachment, which prevents us from freeing ourselves. A wife, betrayed by her husband, lived in resentment and suffering. Every night, she would ask herself, "Why could he do this to me?" That question was like a knife twisting deep in her heart for many years. Until one day, she read a line in the Dhammapada. Hatred is never appeased by hatred. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased. She sat quietly by the window, watching the leaves fall, and then burst into tears. She let go, not of the man, but of the torment in her mind. She didn't forgive him, but she forgave herself for holding on to pain for too long. When we begin to look at others with compassion, we no longer ask why they did something to us, but instead ask what led them to act that way. At that point, we no longer want revenge, no longer want to hold on to pain as a way of life, but only wish for our minds to be at peace and our hearts to be light. A monk once said, "Resentment, in the end, is punishing ourselves for the mistakes of others." That is a great awakening. Holding resentment in your heart doesn't hurt the other person, but it will certainly cause you suffering, like holding a burning coal to throw at someone else. You are the first to get burned. Many people spend their entire lives seeking revenge, but when they achieve it, they fall into emptiness. Because when we live for hatred and then no longer have hatred, there is nothing left to live for. Peace cannot sprout from the soil of hatred. It only comes when the human heart lets go of attachment. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is the choice of the strong who dare to face wounds, dare to accept that the past cannot be changed. When we learn to let go, that is also when we learn to heal. Each of us has cracks, unnamed wounds, things that once suffocated us. But it is precisely through those cracks that light can enter. As long as we don't keep adding fuel to the fire of attachment, that fire will die out. When the mind no longer burns with resentment, it will become fertile ground for sowing seeds of serenity. One afternoon in the Northwest Mountains, I met an old woman picking up fallen leaves to burn and warm her small kitchen. I asked, "Don't you feel sad when those green leaves fall?" She smiled, her eyes deep as if they had witnessed many lives. "Leaves falling are natural," she said. "If I kept regretting it, the stove would never be warm." Her words were like a lesson. How many times in life do we regret things that have fallen from our hands? A person, a dream, a hope. We hold on to that regret in our hearts, forgetting that if we don't let go, this heart will have no room to love again. Try once. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe deeply. And ask your heart, is there anything I've been holding on to for too long? Perhaps it's a person no longer walking with you. Perhaps it's a casual remark someone once made. Perhaps it's yourself, someone who made a mistake and cannot forgive themselves. Don't wait until people leave to realize you haven't lived fully. Don't wait until time fades things away to regret not learning to forgive sooner. This life is impermanent. What we hold in our hands today may vanish tomorrow, like morning mist. Let go of what is unnecessary, so your mind can be light as a flying cloud. Let the wind carry away all resentment, just as autumn shakes off yellow leaves for the tree to shed its burden. The lighter the heart, the closer to peace. Peace is not the absence of storms, but remaining calm, like a morning lake amidst countless storms. And to be like that, we need to learn to look at everything with eyes of compassion instead of resentment. Whenever your heart begins to ripple, stop and return to your breath. Thich Nhat Hanh once taught, breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Just that is enough to bring us back to ourselves, no longer drifting amidst worries, no longer stuck in old attachments. And if today you are hurting because of something someone did to you, please close your eyes and imagine that person standing before you. Don't say anything. Just look at them with compassionate eyes. No need to forgive. Just let go. No need to say goodbye. Just a nod in your mind. Then turn around and walk towards the light of freedom. We were not born to cling to things that make us suffer. We were born to learn how to live each moment fully, with all our love and awareness. Amidst the vast sky, flocks of birds fly by unburdened. The wind still blows through the mountains, carrying no resentment. Clouds still drift, with no regrets for the shapes they just formed moments before. Nature teaches us the lesson of letting go every day, if only we are willing to listen. So today, be the one to start. Let go of what is unnecessary to embrace what is more worthy. That is peace, inner freedom, unconditional happiness. No matter how painful the past, no matter how deep the wound, right at this moment, if you truly want to let go, you have already walked halfway back to yourself. And when you let go of that smoldering fire, you will find a gentle light within you, waiting. There are moments when we suddenly stand amidst a new day. The sun is high, birds chirp in the branches, The wind whispers through the leaves. But our hearts feel nothing except an unnamed weariness. Everything around us is the same. Only our inner self feels like it's swimming upstream in a river full of hidden rocks and old memories. Many of us live as if carrying a heavy bucket of water on our shoulders, not to nourish the present, but old water from the past, from things long gone, sorrows that have rotted in our hearts. Someone asks, why can't I be happy, even though I have everything now? The answer is sometimes simply because we are still living in yesterday. And yesterday, even if we went back 1,000 times, we couldn't fix what is past. One serene afternoon, the Zen master stopped by a stream and conversed with a young disciple. The Zen master asked, "Do you see that water? It flows unceasingly, always new, always clean." The disciple nodded. The Zen master then said, "So, if you wanted to keep that water for tomorrow, what would you do?" The disciple replied, "I would scoop it into a bucket." The Zen master smiled gently. If you keep that bucket of water for too long, it will become cloudy and smell, no longer fresh like new water. Memories are the same. If you hold on to them forever, they will cloud your soul. Those teachings were like the sound of the stream flowing into the heart, washing away old attachments. Someone once hurt you. Someone left without saying goodbye. Or something was once a dream, but is now only ashes. If you still hold on to all these things in your heart, it's no different from keeping old, cloudy buckets of water and using that very water to nourish today. How can today be fresh if the water used for nurturing is the painful drops of yesterday? The Buddha once taught, "Let what has passed go, and do not hastily anticipate what has not yet come. Only the present is what we truly possess." These teachings are neither lofty nor distant. They are as simple as releasing a handful of sand tightly clutched in your hand. The tighter you grasp, the more it hurts. The looser you release, the lighter it feels. But alas, we often don't know what we are clutching until our hands are bleeding and our souls are exhausted. A woman once came to see an old monk at the temple. She had lived more than half her life, but had not found peace. When asked, she spoke of a broken marriage, a lost son, a youth filled with mistakes, and choices she regretted endlessly. She lived like a ghost of herself, drifting in the present. But her mind was forever lost in the past. The monk simply smiled, said nothing, but led her to the stream and gave her a dipper. He said, "Scoop a dipper of water from this stream and hold it in your hand all day today." She did as he said. By evening, the dipper of water was murky, foamy, and no longer cool as it had been. He asked, "Do you want to use this water to wash your face, to drink, or to water flowers?" She shook her head, her face slightly wrinkled. The old monk gently said, "The past is like this dipper of water. At first, it may be beautiful, very refreshing, but if you hold on to it forever, it becomes only a burden. If you don't let go, you won't be able to receive the new flow of water in the present." That is a profound lesson that anyone suffering needs to contemplate. We often live with what-if questions. What if I hadn't said that? What if I hadn't chosen that path? What if that person were still here? But life has no what-ifs, only what is. Each day that passes is a blank page. If we keep writing the old stories, that page will never have a new one. Buddhist teachings say that all phenomena are impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. The past, no matter how beautiful or tragic, is just a dream that has dissolved. You cannot live with that dream forever. You cannot love someone forever in memory, nor can you cling to a wound forever to drown yourself in suffering. Letting go is not forgetting, nor is it denial. It is an act of full awareness. When you realize that what has passed, let it lie quietly, like fallen yellow leaves beneath a tree. You don't need to gather dry leaves. Each day, just step lightly, heading towards the sun. Every morning, when the sun rises, the universe gives us a new opportunity to live. But that opportunity is only for those who know how to let go. Let go of an old memory. Open up to a new sensation. Let go of a complaint. Welcome a ray of loving light. Let go of a sad story, and you will find your heart like a lotus petal, just opening after the rain. If you are carrying an old wound in your heart, try once to face it with gratitude. Be grateful because it taught you strength. Be grateful because from that place you learned to love yourself. But then let it dissolve like a bubble into a stream, like a cloud into the blue sky, because you deserve to live fully in the present. No need to be perfect, no need to start over, just enough awareness to know that I am enough. I don't need to strain myself holding old buckets of water anymore. The journey of letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a training of the mind. Every day, choose a small memory to release. It could be a word that hurt you, a glance that saddened you, or an image that made you sigh. Breathe in, acknowledge it, then breathe out, smile, and tell yourself, this is just a bucket of old water. I don't need to keep it anymore. You don't need to rush. Just be steady like the stream water. Always new, always flowing, always clean. Even if today you are still in pain, still restless, it's okay. As long as you are on the path back to yourself, the path of letting go, you are moving closer to true peace. When you step into the garden after the rain, seeing drops of water still clinging to the leaves, you can choose to wipe them dry, or simply let the morning sun dry them. Similarly, you can choose to strive to forget the past, or choose to gently release it with compassionate acceptance. Your mind is inherently clear, like a stream. But because of old buckets of water, it becomes murky. Now, you can put down one bucket at a time. No need to rush. Just be sincere. And eventually, you will look back and see that you have passed through the rainy season of your soul to enter a new sunny season, where there is a gentle breeze, flowers blooming, and a serene, free you smiling in the present. One autumn afternoon, as I sat on the porch, silently watching the yellow leaves detach from their branches, a final leaf swayed and then released itself to the wind. It fell ever so lightly, without a sound, as if it had long been ready to leave its familiar origin. Suddenly, I realized something simple yet profound. Letting go is not losing, but an acceptance, a way of saying forgiveness to the past, to things that are no longer necessary. In this life, who has not been hurt? Thoughtless words, inconsiderate actions, injustices, or mistakes all leave smoldering marks in the mind. Some people carry that pain throughout their lives, striving to live, but never once forgiving. Forgiveness, though it seems meant for others, is, at its core, the most precious gift we can give ourselves. Because when we forgive, we are letting go of a burden in our hearts and beginning the journey of healing. The Buddha's teachings emphasized, With understanding, there is love. With love, there can be forgiveness. Forgiveness is not forgetting, nor is it condoning wrongdoing, but a deep understanding of the root of suffering. When we understand that everyone has suffered, been ignorant, made mistakes due to lack of wisdom, then our hearts begin to soften. And from there, compassion arises. And from compassion, we learn to forgive, no longer resenting, no longer clinging to the past to torment the present. In the practice of forgiveness, we can see 3 deepening layers, like the petals of a lotus. The first layer is forgiving others. It is forgiving those who have hurt us, forgiving a mother who spoke harsh words because she was exhausted by life, forgiving a father who couldn't express love due to the burdens of making a living, forgiving a friend who once turned their back, a lover who once betrayed. We forgive not because they deserve it, but because we need peace. Forgive so the heart stops resenting, stops screaming for justice, for something that has passed. Forgive to stop wearing ourselves down with a closed past. The second layer is forgiving life, forgiving circumstances, adverse conditions, unnamed challenges that have made us lose direction, lose faith. Forgive a childhood of many losses. Forgive years of wasted effort. Forgive unfulfilled dreams and even misguided ones. Forgive karma, events, and even cruel fate. When we can look at life with compassionate eyes, we understand that everything is interconnected, a lesson, a path that brings us closer to ourselves. The final layer, the deepest and most difficult, is forgiving oneself. We once blamed ourselves for not being good enough, not strong enough, for trusting the wrong people, for hurting others, for making mistakes that cannot be undone. But if we continue to blame ourselves, how is that different from repeatedly inflicting harm? Forgiving yourself is opening your heart to yourself like a good friend, placing a hand on your chest and saying, "I did the best I could within my abilities at that time, and now I deserve to be at peace." When we can forgive at all 3 levels, that is when we truly let go. Let go of control, let go of the desires to be right, to win, to have justice, right now. Let go of the ego filled with pride. Forgiveness does not make us weak. On the contrary, it is a sign of inner strength and cultivated compassion. Imagine our soul as a garden. Each grudge, each wound, is a sharp thorn bush. If we keep them, that garden will never have room for flowers to bloom. Only when we gently pull out each thorn bush with forgiveness can the garden welcome the sunshine and blossom with peace. There is a small story about a beggar who every day walked through the village asking for food, carrying a bag full of stones on his back. People asked him why he didn't lighten his load by removing those heavy stones. He replied that each stone was someone who had caused him suffering, and he carried them so he wouldn't forget. Until one day, his legs gave out, and he could no longer walk. He sat down and began to take out each stone, dropping them into the stream by the roadside. Strangely, as he did so, he felt lighter than he had ever felt, as if he had never carried anything on his shoulders. He burst into tears, suddenly realizing that for all those years, he had tormented himself simply because he didn't know how to forgive. Just like the yellow leaf in late autumn, it doesn't blame the wind for sweeping it from the branch. It doesn't resent the tree for letting it fall. It doesn't mourn the glorious days that have passed. It simply and peacefully departs to transform into earth, nurturing a new sprout of life. Letting go in serenity, without regret, without burden. That is forgiveness. It is a beginning, not an end. Today, if your heart is still heavy because of someone or something, give yourself a chance to forgive. No need to wait for that person to apologize. No need for anything to happen first. Just understand that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, a way to quietly untie the rope binding your heart, a way to save yourself from a sea of suffering. In the light of mindfulness, we will realize that all things that come and go are manifestations of impermanence. No one lives with pain forever if we don't try to hold on to it, and no one can imprison us except the unhealed emotions within. Therefore, instead of holding on, open your heart. Instead of resenting, learn to understand. Instead of punishing, practice letting go. Then you will see that peace doesn't come from things being right, but from your mind ceasing to demand, ceasing to resist, and knowing how to smile in gentle acceptance. Amidst the myriad undesirable things in life, you still have the right to choose a serene soul. Like a lotus that rises from the mud, still blooming pure and untainted by worldly dust. Let your heart lighten, little by forgiving others, forgiving life, and forgiving yourself. Sit still for a moment. In a deep and gentle breath, you will feel a tranquil space in your mind. No longer anger, no longer judgment, just a gentle peace seeping into every cell. That is when you are returning to yourself, a place where there is no longer suffering, only love. And if you find tears falling at that moment, don't hold them back, for that is not weakness, but a sign that your heart is ready to let go, to forgive, and to begin a more peaceful journey. Have you ever wondered why some relationships, the more you hold on to them, the more they hurt? The more you cling, the more your heart feels shattered. We once thought that if we loved enough, we could keep each other. We naively believed that anyone who entered our lives would stay forever. But some people come only to teach us a lesson, then quietly leave as if they never promised anything. One late autumn afternoon, amidst the dry yellow leaves scattered across the temple courtyard, a woman sat leaning against a Bodhi tree, her eyes red, tightly clutching a worn handkerchief. She didn't cry out loud, but sat in silence, as if caught in a long, inescapable dream. She said, "I loved them so much, but now they no longer need me. What can I do to forget, to let go, when my heart is still full of things left unsaid?" The old monk smiled gently and recounted a story he had carried throughout his life. When he was young, a small novice, he once walked through the forest with an elder monk. They came to a large stream with rushing water. The two monks saw a young woman standing hesitantly by the bank, afraid to cross because the water was deep. Without hesitation, the elder monk carried the young woman across the stream, set her down on the other side, and continued walking with his junior disciple. But for the entire long journey afterward, the junior disciple kept wondering, "We are monks. How could you carry a young woman like that? Did you break a precept?" Finally, the elder monk gently replied, "I put that woman down at the stream. Why are you still carrying her on your shoulders until now?" Upon hearing this, the woman suddenly froze. For countless months, she had still been carrying in her heart the image of someone who had left. She wasn't living for the present, not opening her heart to other beautiful things, simply because she couldn't let go of a relationship that was no longer whole. Sometimes, loving someone too much doesn't mean keeping them by your side at all costs. Some karmic connections are born only to walk with us for a segment of our journey. They are temporary guests in the inn of our lives. When it's time to leave, we must learn to smile and bid them farewell instead of crying and clinging. Letting go at the right time is not indifference, but compassion for oneself. It's knowing that if love no longer brings peace to both, it needs to be resolved with wisdom and release. Someone once asked, if love cannot be held on to, what is its meaning? But in Buddhist teachings, love is not about possession, but generosity. It is seeing the person you once loved walk their chosen path, even if you are not by their side, and still wishing them well. We often make the mistake of assigning a permanent role to someone in our lives. We believe they will stay forever, share all joys and sorrows with us, and walk with us to the end of the road. But the Buddha taught that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. This means that everything in this life, including relationships that seem most steadfast, has a time of arising and a time of ceasing. What we need to learn is not how to prevent things from changing, but how to accept when they do change. Look at your relationship like a season of flowers. When flowers bloom, we rejoice. When they wither, we don't resent it. Because the flowers were once vibrant. That person once made us happy. That shared journey, whether long or short, is still a precious part of the flow of our lives. It's not necessary to walk together to the end of life to be complete. Sometimes, just a segment of the road is enough to leave beautiful footprints in memory. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha taught, with a mind unattached, the world cannot bind it. When you let go of a person you once thought was everything, you are not only freeing them, but also freeing yourself. This letting go does not make you cold or indifferent, but is a sign of a mature mind that knows how to see everything with eyes of awareness. Letting go of a person does not mean denying the love that was there, but that you choose not to let the past drag you back. It's knowing that the one who remains needs to live on, needs to move forward, needs to love themselves first. A relationship may fracture, but the compassion within us can still shine, not closing our hearts because someone has left. There is a lamp that burns eternally in each person's heart. It is the light of wisdom and self-love. When you let go of someone who no longer wishes to stay, you are rekindling that lamp. You are choosing light instead of drowning yourself in the darkness of torment, resentment, or regret. And then one day, when you are strong enough, you will smile as you remember the people who once passed through your life. No resentment, no hatred, just gently thanking them, because it was their presence and their departure that helped you understand yourself better, helped you learn to love correctly, and above all, helped you learn to let go of what was no longer needed. At that moment, your mind is like a deep lake, still and clear after a storm, reflecting the moonlight. Peace does not come from keeping all relationships intact, but from knowing how to preserve the purity of your heart, even if others choose to leave. Place your hand on your chest, listen to your steady breath, and whisper to yourself, I once loved, and now I choose to let go. I am not abandoning that person. I am simply returning to myself. In that moment, you are healing. You are walking the path of an awakened person. You are redrawing the map of your life, no longer dependent on any other shadow. For you are complete from within, and you know that some things need to be cherished in memory, but not held onto in the present. A closed door will open another sky. There you are truly at yourself, serene, lighthearted, no longer carrying on your shoulders those who chose a different path. Let go gently, as if releasing a dry leaf to float down a stream. Don't cling. Don't force yourself against the flow of impermanence. Because ahead of you is a peaceful area waiting, a new horizon, another encounter that may be smiling and approaching. Have you ever wondered why sometimes you feel so exhausted? It's not because you've done too much, but because you've expected too much. We get tired, not just from a long journey, but because on that journey, we keep longing for something that hasn't arrived. And it's precisely that longing, that yearning, that makes us lose our way from the peaceful reality we could have enjoyed. In the Buddhist canon, it is said that a friend once told her that what hurt her was not that someone had hurt her, but that she had believed they wouldn't. That belief, that expectation, was like a door opening to paradise. But when she stepped through, she found only an empty room. And it was that feeling of profound disappointment that weighed heavily on her heart. The Buddha taught that suffering does not come from what we lack, but from what we insist on having. In the Four Noble Truths, he pointed out that the root of suffering is craving, attachment, persistent yearning. When we cannot let go of craving, the mind becomes like a fire that burns endlessly. Each craving is like a small flame. The more we accumulate, the more our mind becomes a furnace, burning away peace. The more we crave, the more we suffer. The more we long, the more weary we become. Do you feel that? Indeed. There are days we wake up and find our hearts empty. Not because we have nothing in our hands, but because the things we long for have not yet materialized. A job not achieved, a person who hasn't returned, a dream still far away. And we spin in a cycle of why not yet? When will it happen? How can I achieve it? These very questions turn us into fugitives from the present. In reality, what makes us most tired is not what we are enduring, but the pressure to achieve something specific. We live in a world where everyone is in a hurry. Everyone looks to the future, and sometimes we force ourselves to have more, to be better, to possess more. But the more we chase, the more exhausted we become. Because no one can grasp everything. No one can pick stars from the sky while also tending the garden of flowers in their heart. In a Dharma talk, a Zen master once told the story of a man seeking peace. He traveled everywhere, asked everyone, prayed in all ways, but his heart remained restless. Until one day, he entered a forest, sat by a stream, and watched the water flow, no longer wanting anything, no longer craving anything. He just sat there, and peace arrived. It turned out that what had made him restless all that time was not because he lacked, but because he kept demanding more. We often think we need more love to feel complete. But have you ever considered that peace might come not from having more people, but from having fewer people who hurt us? Like a forest, it doesn't need new trees planted. Just clearing weeds can make it revive. Letting go of excessive craving doesn't mean we become indifferent or abandon our goals, but that we learn to live with what we have, cherish the present, and not trade inner peace for uncertainties. Because what is meant to be will come when the conditions are right. What doesn't belong, holding on to it is like holding water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. When you crave something too intensely, your mind will cling. And when it doesn't happen as expected, you will be disappointed, even resentful. But if you learn to let go gently, like clouds drifting over a mountaintop, you will find your heart more open and peaceful, no longer bound by results, only remaining true to your journey of living. Once, I met a middle-aged woman sitting alone in a temple, her eyes full of sorrow. She confided that for many years she had prayed for her daughter to marry a rich man, to live a prosperous and happy life. But then everything went awry. Her daughter divorced and raised her child alone. She was sad, blaming the Buddha for not being benevolent, blaming her daughter for not choosing wisely. But then, after many months of practicing at the temple, she told me that now she no longer prayed for anything. I just hope she lives true to herself, lives peacefully. And that's enough. I saw a gentle light in her eyes that I had never seen before. The Buddha did not teach us to pray for what we want, but taught us to understand what we have. He did not give us the key to success, but taught us how to master our minds so that even if the door closes, we do not suffer. We think that craving is the motivation for living. But when craving becomes an obsession, it turns us into dependence. Some people crave love so much that they cannot live without someone. Some people crave wealth so much that they lose their families. Some people crave fame, overlooking peaceful moments with their aging parents. Each of those cravings, if not illuminated by mindfulness, will become shackles. Try once to let go of an unnecessary expectation. It could be an expectation of someone who has left. It could be the expectation that everyone must understand and love you in the way you desire. It could be the expectation that you must always be perfect, always strong. Just try to let go once to see what happens in your heart. You will realize that without it, you still live, and you live more lightly. In the sutra, in 42 sections, the Buddha once taught, "Those with few desires have a mind and body that are naturally free. Those with many desires are often bound by suffering." Freedom is the state of a soul no longer controlled by fleeting desires. Freedom is when you walk through a constantly changing life with a heart as calm as a still lake. Dear friend, life is an ever-flowing river of impermanence. No one can hold on to everything. But we can learn to let go of unnecessary things, not to lose, but to make room for more worthy things to appear. Like a cup full of murky water, to have clear water, you must pour out the old. And if today you are weary because of something that has not yet come, gently return to your breath. Place your hand on your chest and ask, "Is this truly necessary?" If the answer is no, then allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to rest from heavy expectations and believe that you are already enough, right at this moment. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Peace is not the absence of storms, but remaining peaceful within even amidst storms. And to maintain that peace, we need to learn to let go, especially of excessive craving." Close your eyes for a moment. Inhale deeply and exhale gently. Feel each breath pass through like a cool stream, flowing through your soul. Nothing more is needed. No one needs to understand. No need to prove anything. Just your presence here is enough. Peace is not far away. It lies in the very moment you stop craving unnecessary things. Have you ever noticed that during even a small argument, your heart pounds so hard? Your voice becomes urgent, your eyes ablaze, your throat dry from trying to defend something that seems so important. It's the ego, not the truth, not what's right, but the self needing validation. At that moment, we stop listening to what others say, focusing only on proving we are right, that we are not inferior. But strangely, the more we try to prove ourselves right, the more insecure we feel. The louder we speak, the more constricted our hearts become. The ego, at this point, is like a shadow standing in front of the sun, preventing the light in our hearts from seeping in. I once knew a friend who was very talented and intelligent, but just because of a small comment in a meeting that his presentation wasn't truly coherent, he was angry for a whole week. Not because the comment was wrong, but because he felt insulted. He said, "They don't understand how hard I tried. I won't let anyone judge me like that." You see, when the ego is touched, it builds walls. Those walls not only separate us from others, but also separate us from the deep peace within our hearts. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a lesson on the annihilation of the ego. He once said that there is no self that is a permanent entity. All are merely combinations of body and mind arising from conditions. The ego is just an illusion nourished by ignorance and attachment, but that illusion is precisely the source of countless afflictions. When someone speaks ill of us, we hurt. When we are not acknowledged, we feel diminished. When others are better, we are envious. All these emotions do not come from the outside. They originate from within. An ego constantly striving for affirmation. The larger the ego, the more easily we are hurt. It's like an overinflated hot air balloon. Just a tiny pinprick is enough to make it burst. But if you have ever sat by a stream in the deep forest, watching the leaves gently fall onto the water and float away, you will understand. No leaf asks, "Am I beautiful? Am I in the right place?" They simply fall, gently, naturally, trying to prove nothing. And precisely because of that, they are very peaceful. Try asking yourself, who am I when I don't need to prove anything? When I am no longer the best, no longer someone who needs to be recognized, no longer need to be right in every situation? At that moment, will we disappear? No. We will still be ourselves, but no longer bound by a proud ego. We will be lighter, freer, deeper. In a Dharma talk, an old monk once recounted the story of a Zen student who came to ask his teacher, "Master, how can I let go of the ego?" The teacher smiled, silently pouring tea. When the teacup was full and overflowing, the student quickly stopped him, saying, "Master, you see, when the cup is full, It cannot receive anything more. The teacher replied, "Exactly. When the ego is full of pride, wisdom and peace cannot enter. Only when empty can you truly listen and understand." The ego is what makes us constantly strive, not allowing ourselves to be weak, not allowing mistakes. But the Buddha taught that mistakes are also part of the spiritual journey. When we dare to admit we are wrong, that is not weakness, but a sign of maturing wisdom. Daring to let go of the need to always be right is daring to open our hearts to compassion, humility, and tolerance. There will be times when you feel the urge to retaliate against a hurtful word, to refute an opinion that is wrong about you, to compete to assert your position. But if you stop just for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what am I defending here? Is it worth it? You will see that sometimes silence is more powerful than any argument. Freedom is not when we can do everything we want, but when nothing within us controls us anymore. And the ego is one of the most powerful, insidious, and subtly manipulative forces. But precisely for that reason, when we learn to let it go, we step into a vast, open sky where there is no longer conflict, only empathy, where we no longer have to always be right, always skilled, always strong, but simply present. My dear friend, if today you feel hurt because someone doesn't acknowledge you, if you feel you are struggling to be seen, to be understood, turn inward and ask your heart, can I be gentler with myself? Can I allow myself to be wrong, to be weak, to be imperfect? Because it is precisely in that imperfection that our soul can breathe. And only when we let go of the ego can we truly love others with a heart that no longer demands. In the soft evening light falling upon ancient pagodas, the sound of a bell resonates, piercing through space, reaching the depths of consciousness. That bell sound is a reminder that all pride will eventually subside with time. Only compassion, understanding, and humility remain eternal. So please, quietly look within yourself once, without judgment, without explanation. Try to live one day without needing to prove anything, without needing to be right, without needing to be clever. Just be authentic, gentle. Then you will see that peace has never left. It's just that the ego has obscured it for too long. You don't need to speak loudly for someone to understand you. You just need to speak softly for yourself, to understand yourself. When the ego dissolves like a dewdrop meeting the morning sun, you will feel the light from within, radiating warmth, gentleness, and immeasurable freedom. There are days, amidst the relentless and endless rhythm of the world outside, we just wish we could stop. Like a gentle breeze ceasing to blow by the porch, just to take a deep breath. Perhaps you have felt that way too. When the mind is weary, all desires and worries seem to cover the soul, and you just want to hide in a quiet corner somewhere for all that turmoil to be resolved. But then, when you sit down, when you close your eyes, you find that there is still a storm within your own heart, quiet on the outside, but the mind is still restless. And that is when we begin to understand that true peace does not come from external silence, but from internal letting go. The Buddha called that journey meditation. People often think meditation means sitting still, cross-legged, eyes closed in a serene room. But in the spirit of Buddhism, meditation is not just a posture. Meditation is a way of life, a state of awareness in every moment of daily life, even when you are washing dishes, sweeping the house, walking, or drinking a cup of tea under a tree. If your mind is fully present with each action, you are meditating. There is a very gentle story my teacher often tells. A student came to the Zen master and asked, "How can I have a peaceful mind?" The Zen master didn't answer immediately, but gave the student a cup of cloudy water and told him to leave it still on the table. After a while, when the sediment settled, the water became clearer. The Zen master smiled and said, "Your mind is the same. Just sit still and let everything settle, and it will become clear on its own." That story seems simple, but is a profound meditation lesson. Sometimes we don't need to try too hard to clear away the chaos in our hearts. We just need to know how to sit down, breathe, and let them settle on their own. Like a lake, when there is no wind, the water will naturally become still and clear enough that we can see the bottom. Meditation is precisely the journey of letting go. But letting go here is not discarding, but moving away from unnecessary things. Letting go of fleeting thoughts, old sorrows, past regrets, and dreams yet to come. When meditating, the first thing we learn is to let go of thoughts. But strangely, the harder we try not to think, the more chaotic our minds become. Because letting go is not about resisting, but about observing. You don't need to chase away the stream of thoughts. Let them come and go like clouds drifting across the sky. Just simply be the one sitting by the riverbank, silently watching the water flow, without jumping in and being carried away by it. There's a guided meditation I love. When you begin to sit down, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and gently tell yourself, breathing in, I know I am breathing. Breathing out, I smile. This phrase by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh is not just a reminder, but a key to opening the door back to yourself. In the moment you know you are breathing, you are no longer chasing the past or fearing the future. You return fully to the present, the only place where life exists. Sometimes you just need a quiet afternoon, sitting under a tree, pouring yourself a hot cup of tea to feel the warmth in your hands, to let your mind be still. Listening to the leaves fall, the gentle wind blowing, not needing to do anything, just being present, just being there. You will be surprised to realize that this very stillness, this very doing, nothing, is the best medicine for a hurting soul. The Buddha once taught that the mind is like water. When still, it clearly reflects all forms. When you let go of the disturbances in your mind, let go of expectations, disappointments, and the pains that have held you captive for so long, you will feel your heart lighten. And from that clarity, wisdom will arise. You don't need to seek advice anywhere far away, because all answers lie within your own stillness. Someone asked me, does meditation help heal wounds? I didn't answer immediately, but invited them to sit down. I poured a cup of tea, and we sat in silence, watching the sun set on the horizon. A little later, I said, "What do you hear?" The person smiled. "I hear the leaves, my heart beating, and I feel my heart soften. Healing is not about trying to forget, but about acceptance. Meditation does not ask us to ignore pain, but teaches us to look directly at it with a non-judgmental heart. And from that gaze, the pain will be embraced and gradually dissolve. If you are in a period where everything is chaotic, if you feel exhausted from having to cope with everything in life, try to stop for a moment. No need to change the world. No need to solve all problems. Right now, just be quiet. Close your eyes and breathe with a soft bell ringing in your heart. Breathing in, I know I am alive. Breathing out, I know I am loved by this very universe. Peace is not far away. It lies in every breath you inhale and exhale. It lies in every moment you choose to let go instead of clinging. In every slow step, every gaze that lingers longer to admire a flower, or in the moment you realize that you don't need to try too hard to please anyone. You just need to turn back and befriend yourself. Letting go on the journey of meditation is not a decisive action, but an art of living. It is a daily choice to be lighter, more aware, and to love yourself more. It's how you see everything come and go, like clouds drifting across the sky, without holding on, without hatred, without needing to understand everything, simply observing with an open heart. And if there is one thing I hope you remember today, it is that you don't need to go looking for peace. Peace is always there within you, waiting for you to return. Each breath is an invitation. Each moment of awareness is a step closer to inner freedom. We cannot change the past. We also cannot know what the future will hold. But we can choose how we live in the present. We can choose to sit down, let go, and simply breathe. Because when our mind is still, life will naturally be peaceful. When our heart is clear, everything will be bright. In this way, you and I, those who are learning to slow down in this noisy world, can find a small corner of peace for ourselves, where no one has to strain, where everything is let go like a late autumn leaf gently leaving its branch without regret. And there, we truly understand that meditation is not separating ourselves from life, but living amidst life with a heart that has learned to let go of unnecessary things. There are afternoons when we sit watching the river flow, the water gently carrying fallen leaves and reflecting the clouds, and our hearts also feel lighter. Amidst the myriad distractions of life, have you ever taken a deep breath and asked yourself, is the love within me making me feel lighter or heavier? We come together out of love, affection, and a desire to share. But then, why after a while do we feel weary, our hearts heavy, and the path ahead no longer as spacious as it was at first? If love is true, it should be a place for us to return to, not a burden we must carry. A loved one should be someone who makes us feel like ourselves, not someone who makes us strain to please, to cling, to fear losing. But alas, the more we love, the more attached we become. We begin to turn love into possession, into fear, into endless craving that the other person must be by our side, love us as we love them, understand us without words. And when those expectations are not met, we are disappointed, we are hurt, we blame, and then resent. The Buddha once taught that if love is without wisdom, it will turn into suffering. Because of ignorance, we love, but we tire each other out. We call it love, but in reality, we are binding each other. When a relationship becomes a place that makes our minds restless, it is no longer true love. If that love is not let go of at the right time, it will be like an invisible rope tightening around our souls, making us unable to breathe. There was once a young woman who came to the temple, her eyes red, sitting before the Zen master, and recounting that she loved someone very deeply, but felt incredibly lonely. That person was with her every day, but in her heart there was an emptiness that could not be filled. She always longed for that person to understand her, care for her, spend more time with her. But the more she demanded, the more lost she felt. She said loving that person made her more sad than happy, more worried than peaceful, and lost more than gained. The Zen master silently poured a cup of tea for her to drink, and then gently said, "You know, when you try to hold water in your hand, by clenching your fist, the water will spill out, and you won't hold on to anything. But if you keep your hand open, the water will rest naturally in your palm. Love is the same. Clenching leads to loss. Gently releasing leads to holding." Those words made her still. Since when had the love within her turned into fear, into possession? She loved, but she didn't allow herself or the other person to be themselves. She always lived in worry that the other person would leave, always wanted to control every action, every word, and always felt a lack, even though the other person was still there. She loved, but no longer felt lighthearted. In love, perhaps the hardest thing is not to love, but to keep that love pure and light. We cannot truly love anyone if we ourselves are filled with chaos, hurt, and emptiness. Because love is not about using others to fill the void within us. True love is when two people come together from two already complete souls, meeting to walk together, not to rely on each other to exist. The Buddha taught that if the mind is at peace, love will be peaceful. A person with mindfulness will not suffer in love. Mindfulness in relationships is the ability to look deeply into one's heart, to know clearly when we are truly loving and when we are clinging. It is the ability to stop at the right time so as not to hurt others or abandon ourselves. It is knowing that letting go of a person does not mean abandoning love, but giving freedom to both. Some breakups are not because love has ended, but because both people no longer make each other feel lighthearted. Some people choose to leave not because they are heartless, but because they understand that staying would only make both hearts more weary. In this case, letting go is an act of compassion. It is our way of saying that we once loved, and precisely because we once loved, now we let each other go. A question worth contemplating during restless moments. What causes me the most weariness in my current relationship? Is it because I'm hoping that person will become someone they are not? Am I sacrificing too much to gain approval? Or have I forgotten that I also deserve to be loved gently, not to endure? A Buddhist practitioner is not one who rejects emotions, but one who knows how to love with awareness, loving purely, like drifting clouds, like flowing water, without binding, without possessing. When you love someone, wish them happiness, whether that happiness is with you or not. To love is to give freedom, to let go even of the expectation of reciprocation. Imagine a morning in a meditation forest where mist still clings to the leaves. Birds chirp amidst the hazy sky. The wind rustles through the tree canopy, cooling your cheeks. In that space, if you truly love someone, ask yourself, am I loving with lightness or with fear? If it's with lightness, continue to cultivate it. If it's with fear, learn to stop. Not to stop and forget, but to stop and look within yourself. Love is not a burden. If a relationship is making you feel exhausted, perhaps it's time you stepped away a little, took a deep breath, and rediscovered peace within yourself. Remember, you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love. You just need to be yourself. A soul that knows how to love with awareness and compassion. Loving lightly means no jealousy, no resentment, no control, no coercion. It's when you listen more than you speak, understand more than you demand. It's when you are willing to let the other person go if they no longer find peace by your side. Loving like this, whether together or apart, we still keep a beautiful love in our hearts. We were not born to cause each other suffering in the name of love. We were born to walk through life's paths together, to support each other, to help each other grow, not to bind each other and then sink together. Sometimes, love is holding on, but sometimes, love is letting go. Letting go is not abandoning the feeling, but abandoning the expectations that make that feeling suffocating. You can love a person without needing to have them by your side every day. You can remember someone and still smile and live peacefully. Because true love, whether it has a form or not, still exists in the most serene and pure part of the heart. And if today you are suffering because of a relationship, close your eyes for a few minutes. Breathe in deeply. Exhale slowly. Imagine you are standing in a vast field, the gentle sun shining on your face, the wind caressing your hair. Ask your heart, can I let go now? Perhaps you will hear a soft voice in your heart whispering, it's time. Go towards the light. Believe that after loss and letting go, one day you will love again. But this time, it will be a lighter, purer love. A love that carries no fear or possessiveness, but simply presence, like flowers blooming in a spring garden, like a stream gurgling in an ancient forest, like the sun rising, needing no one to hold it back. Ultimately, the most precious thing in love is not being together forever, but having truly, gently been present in each other's lives. And if that love helped you grow, helped you learn how to turn inward and care for yourself, then even if it ends, it is nothing to regret. Meditating under the tree this evening, gently tell yourself, I choose to love lightly. I choose to live lightly. Because in the end, this life is already heavy enough. May the love in each heart be a cool breeze, not a storm. One afternoon, I stood by the river, quietly watching the water flow. A gentle breeze swept across the calm surface. A few dry leaves floated idly with the current. Everything was strangely quiet, but my heart was stirred by an unnamed sadness. Just then, an old friend sitting beside me gently said, the water doesn't cling to the leaf, and the leaf cannot hold the water. They let go of each other, and that's why they are free. I didn't reply, but those words have stayed with me for a very long time since that day. Each time my heart feels heavy with unfulfilled things, I think of the floating leaf. Could true peace be found in knowing when to let go? Not letting go out of failure, nor out of weariness, but because we have understood. Some things, the more we cling to them, the more they hurt. On life's journey, everyone at some point strains to prove themselves, to acquire, to be a little better than others, to hold on to things they believe are precious. But the further we go, the more we realize that what the Buddha taught long ago is an undeniable truth. To achieve true peace, one must first learn to let go of unnecessary things. These unnecessary things could be a fractured relationship, an unfulfilled dream, a hurtful word, or a memory that constantly pulls us back to the past. Sometimes it's meaningless competition, an oversized ego, or a deep-seated fear in our hearts. When we can't let go, our minds are like a bird trapped in a cage, with wings but unable to fly. And the most painful part is when that cage is created by ourselves. The Buddha did not teach us to run from life. He only taught us how to live amidst life without being dragged along by it, not to let suffering control us, not to let gains and losses determine our happiness. Just one deep breath, one gentle pause, one moment of turning inward. That's all it takes to touch peace. Dear friend, perhaps today you are sitting in a quiet room, but your heart is like a storm-ridden field. Perhaps you are walking through a crowded street, but your heart feels empty. Perhaps you have just experienced a loss that leaves you with no enthusiasm for anything anymore. But dear friend, please believe that peace is not found where you go, but in how you return to yourself. Returning is not going back to the past, but returning within. Returning to your breath, to your presence, to your very soul. The Buddha once taught that one who knows how to return to their inner self has walked halfway to enlightenment. Because when you no longer seek peace outside, you will discover a miracle. Everything you need is already within you. Have you ever seen a lotus bloom in the mud? It's not because the mud is good, but because the lotus knows how to rise. You are the same. You don't need circumstances to be perfect. As long as you know how to nurture your inner self with mindfulness, with gentle letting go, happiness will come like flowers blooming after winter. No one walks the path of awakening without stumbling, without wanting to give up. But each time you get up, you become stronger. Each time you learn to let go, you move closer to inner peace. I want to tell you a story about an old Zen master. A young man came to him, seeking to learn the path. He said he was always restless, worried, his mind always cluttered with countless things. The Zen master said nothing, just gave him a cup full of water. Then he began to pour more water, and it overflowed. The young man exclaimed in a panic, "Master, the cup is full. Don't pour any more." The Zen master smiled. Your mind is like that cup of water. If you don't pour some out, how can there be room for stillness? That lesson is simple, but profound enough for a lifetime of contemplation. Every day, if we can let go of a little worry, a little expectation, a little competitiveness, then our hearts will feel a little lighter. Each morning, instead of rushing out, take a few minutes to sit, breathe deeply, and ask, what unnecessary burden am I carrying today? Ask, and then gently let it go. Peace is not when everything is smooth, but when your heart is wide enough to embrace even what is not to your liking. It's when you no longer want to change everything to your will, but learn to accept it as it is. It's when you sit alone but are not lonely. It's when you smile, not because of anything happening, but because your heart feels complete. We live in a fast-paced world where success is often measured by fame and wealth, seen by others. But the Buddha did not teach us to chase after such things. He only taught that if everyone knew how to return to their own minds, live with mindfulness, and know how to let go of unnecessary things, then in every moment of the present, that would already be nirvana. You don't need to leave this life, nor do you need to go to a remote, secluded mountain. You just need to learn how to stop, listen, breathe, and let go. Right here, right now, you can start again. And if today you feel you're not ready, that's okay. The journey of letting go is not something that happens overnight. It is a process, sometimes smooth, sometimes bumpy. But each time you choose to turn inward instead of running outward, you are moving towards the light. I want to send you one last gentle wish for today. No matter what stage of the journey you are on, please be patient, because peace will come, like flowers blooming after winter. Believe in that, because within you, there is always a spring waiting.